Hello, everyone. Welcome to the coffee break. If you can, please do me a favor and drop your name in the little chat window. And also, there's a question that's being posted. And the question for this episode is, do you use a graphics tablet or a drawing tablet? Do you use a drawing tablet or a graphics tablet? Hello, David. Hey, glad you're with us again. And you'll be hearing from Ev. Hello, Russell. All right, guys, we'll be starting in just a moment. And hello and welcome to another Luminar Coffee Break, where you supply the questions and then Skylum supplies the experts to help you answer those questions. Now, joining me today, we have a very special guest. He's a generalist photographer and the chief growth officer at Skylum. Please welcome Ev. Here he is.
Hey, everyone.
Hello, Ev. I'm sorry. He's sporting his new, what do you call it?
Holographic headphones. Yeah.
Gotcha. Hey, so Jordan Kennedy's coming in from Scotland. Derek is saying, as you predicted, Dak is saying no tablet yet. Brian is coming all the way from Clearmont, Florida. That's right down the road. So, well, it's good to see. Let's see, and from Philly. Great, guys. Well, we're happy that all of you guys are here today. And what we're going to do is show you how we use masking to selectively edit our images. And Ev has some great examples. I'll have him go first in a moment. But the reason why we asked about the tablets is when you're dealing with masking, it's a lot easier to use a pen, which is simulates like a brush, than it is a mouse. But the difference is, since Skylum invented the AI scene enhancer, as a portrait retoucher, I barely do any masking now. The software does it for me. So I have this beautiful Microsoft workstation, a studio workstation. I love it, but I don't find myself using the pen nearly as much as I used to because a lot of the AI stuff that we have. So, wow, Argentina. So, Ev, I'm going to turn it over to you first. Here we have Ev first. Ev, a couple things. First of all, we went to New York City for a PPE, and I just absolutely loved that you guys went out to what was it called? The stairs? Do you remember that special?
Yeah. The name escapes me right now.
Yeah, but you know I was hurt that day. Oh my God, my back was hurting, my knees were hurting, and all I saw were thousands and thousands of stairs, and I thought, what the heck? You came back with some of the most amazing shots I've seen because you stayed in one spot underneath, and you shot up with it. What are some of the stuff you like photographing?
Well, I like taking pictures of a lot of things, and I don't know if you can switch to the screen that I have. And basically, it's a variety of travel scenes, cityscapes, portraits. So I selected a bit of photos right now, just kind of like to go through. They're all from they're all from Japan, different places: Kyoto, Tokyo, and Nagano. But traveling is one of my passions. I'm glad that I'm happily can combine it with work. I mean, before the stay at home and quarantine. But it's something that drives me is to explore new places and try to capture the beauty of that. By no means I'm a professional photographer, so I just do it for fun. Just kind of like been doing it for about 20 years now.
Wow. All right. So could you give us an example of how you use masking for selective editing?
For sure, yeah. So there's a couple of photos I wanted to try it on, and I think I'll go with this one. I actually have it pre-selected. So what I like about this photo, I mean, it's a. Hopefully, you guys agree that it's a nice photo, but it's something where there's a lot of the texture and structure on these deers, and they're from Nara, a very popular place with tourists, and they're very friendly, easy to shoot. And what I like is usually I would start like most people with AI accent and just kind of like dial it in a little bit. I don't want to go all the way, but I want to just make it like still like a matte film look. But once I get into the kind of like the basics of that and maybe like, change the hue of green colors just to make it more desaturated a little bit or maybe like faded. After this, I want to add a lot of structure on. Actually, I have a pointer tool. You can see it in green. I like to add a bit of structure here. So what I would like to go to is actually there's a couple of ways. I think the easiest way is to actually go to AI structure, and I will add it before any mask just to see like where I want it to be. And you can see that maybe I actually want to do two masks, one to make it a negative and put it on the background, and one to make it positive and make it on the foreground. So let's try this. Here I'll click, and you guys will see that I'm actually very kind of like there's different ways to do this. I'll do it um, the most lazy way because that's the best way. And basically, we'll just select, let me see where it's going. I'll click this little arrow. And I don't have to be precise because, again, I have very soft edges. It's a softness 100%. So it allows me to be imprecise, actually, in that case. And all I need is just where the fur is and, just kind of like to select it. I'm not even going to select the bottom of the left deer, just so that kind of like it, creates that bulky kind of feel. And after I'm done, I'll click done here. And now I have a mask. You can see here that it selected the parts that I want. And now if I just like go minus 100 or plus 100, you will see how it changes. So now basically I have just this AI structure only on the selected parts. And I can always go and say like, okay, maybe I don't like it. Let's go and redo something. I can always do this. I have the mask selected. I can adjust some settings. Let's say I just go for a smaller selection here. And yeah, maybe I'll just get an ear, really depends on how precise you need it to be. If it's something kind of like geometric in shape, of course, you want to be more precise. But because it's nature and I have the optical kind of feel like of a lens, I can be a lot less precise. Maybe in here, like I'll actually deselect the eye. So yeah, in this photo, it doesn't matter that much. And so what we've done is I can go here before and after, very small but noticeable change. And what I like about that is that if I want to add AI structure but make it negative, as you saw before, to make it softer, that's another thing that I like because sometimes I have to shoot with an aperture that's a little bit more closed, so a lot more details get in there, and maybe that's not what I like. So I'll create another adjustment layer and I'll go back. So now I have a new layer. I'll just go back to see that it's right here. And let's go back to this AI structure. And now I'll make it like way negative to 100%. So now we have the background, and well, actually everything became blurry, but now I just want to select the opposite, just the background. And I'll be very, very quick here so you guys don't have to wait. And I'll make it easier to see as well. Okay, I clicked erase here. Now I click paint. And I'll be very, very imprecise. But I just want to show you can create almost like a additional bokeh, additional softness in the image in parts where you want it to be that would look very natural. And that's not something that I would do too often. I still like to rely on lenses to do the initial part, but I think it kind of like helps me make very quick adjustments in case if I just want to like this extra touch. And I will deselect so you can see, and you can see the blurriness of the background image. And maybe 100 is actually a bit too much. I'll just do a little bit less. So now we've gone from this to this. The difference is very mild on this image, but again, like I tried to make it what I would do. But if we go to 100, and I can go back here and also select 100 for, that's right here, then you will see the difference going to be a lot more noticeable. And I have to select the adjustment layer. So for the screens, I think it's going to be easier to see. So I'll make it for viewers. And now we have two masks. Okay, sorry, I'll go back. Accidentally clicked on keyboard. And basically now we have two masks, one that's been done in adjustment layer and the other one's been done in the original file. And what it does is, because the tool cannot be used twice, in the same layer, I can actually create an adjustment layer and add more to that. And that's just the beginning. I can do the same once again. For example, like I can create another adjustment layer. And for example, I want to zoom in into the eyes. Actually, I'm not sure it's going to be a good idea, but you know, we can give it a try. And I can just go to, let's go to something that will give me more like sharpening. So before, what's that?
Detail enhancer.
Yeah, so either detail, but I'm actually going to do something more fun. You will see that my whole image becomes a lot brighter. And I did AI enhance and I'll do AI structure. But actually just looking at the eye, like, oh, I'll only care about this eye part. And the rest I'll disregard because, as you imagine, I'll do the mask. So I only care about the eye. So I'm only looking at this little area. And now, because I've done different tools, I've done 4 different tools, I actually have to go to layers and edit mask here, because then all the tools will be applied at the same time. And so, Vanilla, it might be your example that you want to show with the model.
Yep, but I queued it up.
I'm doing this here for, and again, like you can see a tiny little white dot here. It's our layer that's been done. And when we look before and after, the eye has a lot more contrast and detail. And now we have actually 2 adjustment layer on top of the original photo. And now it's kind of like the eye shines a lot more.
All right, let me bring you back to the full screen now. Let's see, I had your camera. There we go. Nope. And for some reason, I lost your camera. Oh, there you are. Gotcha. All right, that was good. So between you and Paul, let me put Paul up here. Do you recommend using looks on its own layers? It seems like both of you are throwing me a great softball question to set me up to show everyone what we're going to do next. So, Paul, this will answer your question. So you saw what Ev just did. So in the very beginning, I like starting out with AI enhancer, but look what that does. Now, and I'm going overboard just to show you, right about here, each of the tools have their own layer mask. Or not layer mask, each of the tools have their own masking. So I'll click on brush. And for this here, I like what it did with her. I want to back it off on the sides. So the question is, which is more? Do I have more background or more her? If I click paint, then it'll apply the effect on her. If I click erase, I can erase the effect back here. So I'm going to click paint at 100% opacity. And now I'm going to paint just on her. Notice the effect disappeared, but the effect was brought on with her. So if I hit my visibility icon for the mask, you can see exactly where I'm painting. All right? So that was a quick one. So now you saw that right there. Look at that. So to answer your question, right now, for me to put a look onto this layer, I don't have a layer mask that I can use. So if I create a new layer, and remember, we can name these layers. Let's just call this, right here, rename it, and we'll call this a looks layer. So here's my looks layer, and I created one earlier, and it's masked. Now, here's what's really cool. Because it was an adjustment layer, it's like a see-through playing cards, a deck of cards. It's see-through. It sees what's on that bottom layer. So it saw this right here, and I'm able to do some edits with it. Now, here's the key. If I want to remove all of these effects, so notice on the side, anything that's highlighted means that that was applied to this image, all right? And I know for a fact, dramatic is going to play a key role, and the mystical tool, look at that, is going to play a key role. So I'm looking at dramatic, and I'm thinking, you know what? Let's just do a slight erase at 50%, just on her face a little bit. That's good. Now I want to go back to my mask, or my layers up here. Now I want to apply, like Ev was saying, a new mask that's going to affect all the layers equally, or all the tools equally. And what I want to do is erase that just a little bit out of her face. There we go. So it took, let's say we have 4 tools that we used. It made a mask and got rid of those effects in that area on those 4 tools equally. Otherwise, I'd have to go through individually, edit, next tool, edit, next tool, edit, and that's a royal pain in the neck. So to answer your question, is it a good idea to put looks on its own layer? Well, if I'm only using one look, I'll start my layer with that. And then build, and then if I create another quote look, I'll add another layer. Now I have the option of either using the layer mask or the tool mask, all right? So again, here it is, before and after. And I just love how we're able to draw attention to certain areas. Now, if you notice, over here, my eye is being drawn. So I can come down to the Pro Tools, and let's use the adjustable gradient. Now I want to darken the bottom, but not the bottom half of the image. I want to darken the sides. So let's change the orientation. And in theory, this is an auto mask. This is masking it for me. Right here. And I do this every time with a pen. You know what? Back to the mouse. So from here, let me move it over. There. And now I can see that area being a little bit darker. So that's another form of masking. You're using a gradient mask as part of that tool. So I was able to make a selective change in this area here. Now all the focus is going on her. All right? So I hope that answered your question. So Ev, back to you. You have another image for us?
Sure thing. Yeah, I was actually just looking at some questions, but yeah, I got an image for you.
Want to pop a question? Let's do this.
Yeah, well, no, there's just like a question from Cedric Belsley, and the question is pretty long, but it's basically like, wouldn't be, I mean, yeah, it's on the screen now. And the answer is, I just wanted to, well, first of all, I want to understand actually how, what are the implications are of that? Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to select this subject to do something with it? And, you know, it really depends because we actually have a lot of tools in Luminar that help you to do that. And we just want to make sure that people can enjoy photography without going through a lot of technical details. Kind of like get their creativity juices flowing without having to, you know, read like really thick manuals on how to do things. All right, so but that's a good chat. I think it's nice to keep the conversation going about that. I have a monkey shot. I have a monkey shot here, and I really like it. But something that I did just kind of like a few seconds before is I did AI accent to 100, and you see what it's done is that the face looks very nice, but the background and snow became very blue and very kind of like in your face. And I like the foreground, but I don't like what happened on the background. I think it's a bit too much. So the perfect way to solve it is actually again with the mask. And this time, because I think I might do a few little things, I'll actually start with adjustment layer. So I start new, as you mentioned, like I can rename it. So we'll say, let's call it monkey face of a monkey. And now, and here will basically be part of that. So we'll, and because I'm dealing with the face, I'll actually like start drawing. Now I'm gonna pick the circular
Nice.
one, and I'll try to be, all right. I'll have to invert it later, or I can do it now. All right, I'll do it now. It's a very handy button there. And again, like for quick and imprecise editing, I will make it not very accurate masking, but just kind of like show how easy it is. And this is my mask, as you can see. So it doesn't select everything. So now, let me see where we are. I got the layers on the monkey face. And now I can go to accent. And okay, you see what I left out? Any viewers noticed is that I left out here 100% of AI enhance AI accent.
Gotcha.
So actually, and that's why it was not the way I like it. That's the way I like
Oh,
it.
nice.
Now we have a good start. But what I like to see is actually a part of the face, kind of like with more texture. So instead of here, which I can also do like a bit of kind of like, play around with different tools, maybe make it more dramatic, maybe go for, let's see what else we can do. Maybe more advanced contrast, which is really cool. There's like a lot of details there, and I want to be mindful of the background. It's going to be shifting quite a lot. But after I've done all this, I'm actually going to go and create one more layer. And this time I'll zoom in a little bit more, and I'll be a little bit more precise here. So I want to focus on, let me see where I'm painting. Okay, on the face. I like this cute little face, and they're very friendly. They're just like running around, taking selfies with tourists, and you cannot feed them, unfortunately, but they can steal your camera.
Yeah.
And then you'll have to feed them. All right, so I've done this mask, and now I'll just want to go to detail enhancer. That's going to be a good start for us. So let's see, and now again, for the screen, I'm going to exaggerate a little bit. So you see, because there's so many small details,
Oh, wow.
it's starting to show up quite significantly. And the usual case, I'll just be dialing in and out and be like, okay, this is where I want it. And then dialing in and out and be like, okay, this is where I want it. Sharpening, maybe like this is where I want it. And small details is where it's like shows the most effect, because there's a lot of small details, of course. And maybe like, well, maybe for screen, I'll make it a little more. So now we have like mask on top of mask on top of mask. But the whole point is actually, there's one more thing that I want to do is to add saturation. The faces that they have are usually more red. But I think my camera was, I think it's a raw file, so it's been shooting like in a very desaturated mode. So I actually want to bring back that redness that I saw on their faces, and I'll just kind of like dial in a bit of a red hue in them, and a bit of, let's see if I can highlight
Some
their
orange in it
face.
too.
What's that?
Some orange. She has some orange in it too.
Yeah, it's probably, there's a lot of orange. Yeah. Again, I want to just make sure that I'm not spending too much time on this. But you're right. There's a lot of orange in the face in skin, just like humans. So very natural.
Wow.
Um, Now I can see that I've overdone this a little bit. I don't know if it's visible on the screen, but that allows me to go here, back to the layers, and actually dial it back in altogether. And that's what I like, because actually after I've done this and I look at the picture, I see like, yeah, maybe a bit too much. Like maybe there's a bit too many too much sharpening, and maybe it's too red now. So I can dial it back into, let's see where I like it.
Right there.
Yeah, around like 50 or
Yep. Yeah.
55.
I call it the Harrington 50-70 rule.
Yeah, exactly.
Rich Harrington always said, well, dial that back between 50 to 70%.
Exactly. And so there's a couple more things that I would normally do, maybe just a bit of vignetting. And I can go back to the original file, go to vignette. One thing that I really like is because it's a subject and it's a little bit on the side, I can click choose subject and then click where I want it to be. And actually it creates vignetting around that. So you'll be able to see that it moves where vignetting begins and ends. And so that's kind of like very useful. And I'll click it right here. I'll dial back a little bit, just a little touch. And go back, you have to select the top layer to have all the changes come into effect to make
You
sure
said
that they're all.
that transparency playing card idea. So, the transparency all the way through. So what you change on the bottom appears on top. Great job.
Yeah, yeah.
Now,
And so here I use two of those masks for different parts of the image just to dial in. Maybe I'll do more, like there's never a limit to that. But here, because for me, there's like three main parts. There is, again, I clicked with my mouse, three main parts. There is the whole image, then there is a monkey and monkey's face. So it's important kind of like to make sure that there is different attention that is given to this. And maybe the last one's going to be monkey's eyes to make them really shine, and that would be the last bit for that. Yeah.
hey, well, that's great, Ev. Thank you. I'm going to take it back to you now here. So you're on. Ev, well, because you're part of the growth team, is question about the green screen. And by the way, I've written an article on is white the new green screen. So the concept is like anything I create that I do quote the traditional green screen on, whatever I know the final outcome is going to be, if I know it's going to be on white, I'll shoot it on white. If I know it's going to be a dark background, I'll shoot it on black. I stay away from green screen just because of the color cast it gives. But are you able to talk about if we're going to be getting green screen, or that's something we can't talk about yet?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Actually, I cannot see it quite well. I think you can. How can I get this green screen an image?
How,
I'm not quite sure what is meant by this.
oh
Like
no, what he's
if
saying
you
is,
want.
in other words, can we use this on green screen? So in other words, no, to extract the background. So right now, we don't have that feature yet. But we can't say what's going to be in the future. We'll just say,
I,
look at our AI and how incredible our AI is. So that's all we can say. My good buddy Kingston, are there any plans to create an iPad version? Again, I'm the mere photographer. The engineers, those are questions for you guys.
no, for sure, great questions. Obviously, the world is changing. A lot of people are staying at home. A lot of people are kind of like trying to re-edit their old photos. And so, whether it's an iPad or a computer or other things, getting those requests is very, very important. For my team deals with more like business connections, stuff like this, and partnerships. But it's also important for engineers to hear more often, to hear those requests more often. The reason for that is really hard to understand. People's capacity, for example, to use or pay, whether it's iPad as a toy or a real tool. It kind of like differs between different photographers. So I think it's important to hear those voices. So
Exactly.
that's for sure.
And Cedric, Cedric here, he's hammering away at that composition work big time, which is good. Yes, these are incredible features. I've asked for these features too, and I believe on our website, I'll try to find it and bring it back to where you can actually request features. But keep a couple things in mind. Just because we request them doesn't mean they're going to do it. Here's a perfect example. I kept asking Ivan if we can make the brush start at 100% opacity, not at 50. He said, why? It's because I'm always changing it to 100 when I edit. Why? Well, because I like 100. Why? I didn't give him a good answer. He said 50 is good because you can gradually build up to 100. You know what? He's right. now I catch myself. Oh, that makes sense. When AI, a portrait enhancer came out, I heard a lot of people say, well, can't we have a separate tool that you can select the eyes manually? And I used Ivan's concept, and I said, why? Well, in case it doesn't select it. Well, has it failed you yet? Well, no. Well, then why should they? Their goal is for AI to be self-training, to where we train it and train it and train it, and then if there's a dilemma on that rare photo, now we have the masking that we can actually apply. So there's a rhyme and reason why they come up with these things, and I've learned to trust them, and I love where we're heading. So as a portrait photographer, the AI portrait and skin enhancer is a huge game changer for me. So, but Ev, hey, thank you so much for coming out. They're from the Great White North. You're up in, we're in Canada. Whereabouts?
Yeah, in Toronto.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. And what we'll do, sorry about that. Let me pull it right up here. My computer is moving a little slow. So please leave comments below. And then if you want any request, put the request in and we'll make sure we pass it off to the, there we go. We'll make sure we pass it off to the engineers. Again, we can't promise we'll do everything. But look at it and we'll see where we are in the roadmap. And you can check the roadmap on our website on where we're heading from this point on. So guys, thanks again. If you like this, please hit the thumbs up. And if you want to be notified when future ones are coming out, click the little bell up on top and you'll be notified. So guys, once again, thank you so much for joining us and we'll see you at the next coffee break.